We begin at an airport, where we follow a woman to her hotel room. At first, it seems like she's just looking to rest after a long day, but we quickly discover she's part of a team planning a heist. Once alone, she pulls out her gear and contacts Donnie, the team leader, who is already in position, receiving updates from his lookout. The crew gets ready to move. Since the location is both an airport and a cargo hub, the only way in is via a shipping container. The team swiftly overpowers the guards and staff, sneaks into the cargo hold of a recently landed plane, and grabs what they came for, millions in diamonds. With only seconds before a security patrol returns, they manage to retreat to their container and exit the area undetected. Meanwhile, we catch up with Nick, a law enforcement agent who played a major role in the first film. These days, though, his reputation has taken a hit. He watches news footage of the diamond heist, noting how fast and efficient it was. He's convinced it was Donnie's work. He's been chasing him for years. Nick begs his boss to let him reopen the investigation. However, his boss refuses. After all, the public still doesn't know Donnie successfully robbed the U.S. Federal Reserve. To recap, for those who didn't see the first film, Donnie and his team stole millions from the Federal Reserve Department responsible for destroying old bills. Since the cash was off the books, the government buried the incident to avoid embarrassment. Nick's pursuit was shut down, and the case was forgotten. Now, Donnie has arrived in France. He meets Giovanni, who provides him with new credentials and sets him up in a location overlooking the Diamond District, their next target. But Nick isn't giving up. Donnie destroyed his career, and Nick wants payback. He visits Holly, the widow of his former partner, hoping she'll help. But Holly refuses unless she's paid the $7 million her husband was promised. She wants her cut before revealing anything. Back in France, Donnie meets with Abba, who helps him find buyers for the stolen diamonds. She also gets him into the heavily secure Diamond District. She introduces him to a man known as the concierge, who accepts a bribe and gives Donnie office space, making him a legal trader in one of the world's richest diamond markets. But Donnie isn't going legit. He wants access to the vaults, planning a bigger heist that could set him up for life. In Italy, we meet Giacomo, the rightful owner of the stolen diamonds, including a rare 30-carat pink one. When he inspects the packaging, a tiny GPS tracker falls out. Donnie is caught off guard, but Giacomo casually drops the device into a coffee cup. Then he uses this mistake to renegotiate the deal, lowering the price by $1 million. But at least Donnie is paid in cash. When Donnie tells his crew about the GPS, they immediately work on erasing any trace of it from the places the diamond had been. Back to Nick. Thanks to info from Holly, he confirms Donnie is in France. However, with no agency support, he flies there as a tourist. Once in France, he approaches an independent investigation team called Pantera. One of its members, Hugo, agrees to help. They pull surveillance footage from the Diamond District, clearly showing Donnie walking out. But Nick acts like he doesn't recognize him, since he lacks legal authority, and Hugo keeps pressuring him to give his credentials to proceed officially. If Nick wants to catch Donnie, he'll have to do it off the books, even if that means putting himself at risk. That night, when Donnie returns home, he finds Nick already there, eating his food and waiting to talk. Although Nick is furious about how Donnie ruined his career and personal life, he's not there for revenge. Instead, he wants it on the team. Donnie must now figure out how to include Nick without raising suspicion among the others, especially since Nick is a former cop. Meanwhile, Samba, Giacomo's enforcer, arrives in France. His men have traced the last known coordinates from the GPS tracker that was hidden with the pink diamond. Knowing that Ja, a moderately corrupt official, is vulnerable to bribery, Donnie offers him a large sum of money in exchange for access to secure space in the vault under the guise of expecting another shipment. Samba, however, has already determined that Donnie had the diamond before the tracker was destroyed. The mafia is closing in. The crew isn't thrilled with Nick's sudden presence. To test him, they give him weed and observe how he handles himself. They know about his past in law enforcement, but if he stays loyal, they may let him stay. The night gets wild with cigars and booze, and Nick ends up bonding with Joe Van, something that doesn't sit well with Marco, who used to date Joe. Donnie steps in to defend Nick, and a tentative friendship begins to form. Donnie eventually admits that he confirmed Nick had been fired and no longer had the authority to arrest him. As Donnie and Nick head home, they are kidnapped by Samba's men and taken out to sea. Samba tells them about the pink diamond's significance to his organization and warns that if they don't retrieve it, their lives, and those of everyone they care about, are in danger. Then, they're left stranded in the ocean, forced to swim to shore. Now, both are targets of the mafia. Their only shot at redemption is to follow through with their plan to rob the vault, which may also lead them back to the pink diamond. With Nick officially part of the crew, they move forward, but Marco is kicked out and seems likely to seek revenge. Thanks to the bribe, Ja secures them access to the vault area. But only the concierge, one of the few people with full access, can take them inside. Nick is chosen to go in with him, wearing a special suit filled with cameras to collect intel for bypassing the vault's first layer of security. That part is easy. The guards are more concerned with protecting clients than catching thieves. Java, the intermediary, escorts Nick to the vault, where nearly 850 million euros in diamonds are stored. Nick notices that the pink diamond is hidden in Java's personal safe. He informs Donnie, but they keep that detail secret from the rest of the team. Meanwhile, Marco has assembled his own crew, ready to sabotage Donnie's plan. With both groups prepared for action, Donnie's team dons high-tech masks that make them look like the concierge. The next challenge is crossing from one building to another via a narrow metal tube, just as the country is distracted by France playing in the World Cup. Descending through the elevator shaft, the crew must move fast, only 20 seconds per person. Fortunately, everything goes smoothly at first. The guards remain unaware of the break-in. Inside the vault, they only have a short window to grab as much as they can. But just as they begin the operation, the concierge unexpectedly returns, forcing them to cut things short. Worse still, Donnie hasn't retrieved the pink diamond yet the very last second. Donnie manages to recover the pink diamond. With no time to spare before the concierge arrives via the elevator, the team rushes to the rooftop with their stolen loot. They must now escape the same way they came, using the narrow metal tube. But the added weight of the diamonds causes the tube to become unstable, and it collapses, falling to the street where the guards spot it. To save the mission, Nick throws the briefcase down as a diversion, compromising the original escape plan. The rest of the team escapes as planned, but Nick remains trapped inside the building. When the alarms go off, he's forced to shoot a guard to create a distraction and then jumps from the second floor, where the team is waiting to pick him up. After delivering the stolen goods to Giovanni for secure handling, they remove the tracking device from their car and continue on the run. Back at the diamond vault, the concierge discovers the mess left behind and realizes that a large amount has been stolen, though the exact value is still unclear. As the crew heads toward the rendezvous point, Marco and his men ambush them. Marco had been in charge of the escape route and simply waited for the team to show up. A chaotic car chase and shootout follow. Nick is shot in the shoulder, but manages to take out one of Marco's vehicles. Eventually, their car crashes and Marco corners them. Just when all hope seems lost, gunfire erupts from an unexpected source. Samba and his crew arrive, wiping out Marco's men. It turns out Donnie hadn't intended to flee. He was heading straight to Samba's location to return the pink diamond and offer a sincere apology along with a generous retirement gift. Moved by Donnie's gesture, Samba lets him go and even gives him a car to continue his escape. A few days later, the crew celebrates in Italy, admiring their haul, now appraised and sorted by their own private concierge. They've all become millionaires overnight. But their celebration is short-lived. A SWAT-like unit suddenly storms in and arrests them all. Nick, however, is taken aside separately. It's revealed that Hugo, the Pantera agent who had helped Nick earlier, was the one who turned the team in. In the end, once a cop, always a cop. Even though Nick had a chance to disappear with the money and a woman who loved him, he chose the badge. Later, Nick visits Donnie in custody and tells him they're finally even. While he enjoyed the thrill of the criminal world, he was never able to stop being a lawman. Before leaving, Nick advises Donnie to sit on the back left side of the prisoner transport, an odd detail Donnie doesn't understand at first. But on the way to be extradited to the US, armed helicopters suddenly surround the transport. Within moments, a heavily armed team shows up and rescues Donnie in under a minute. He has no idea who they are, but realizes it's better to go with them than return to prison. The rescuers take Donnie to Giacomo. There, Donnie learns the rescue was orchestrated by Samba. Giacomo, deeply impressed by Donnie's heist, wants him to join his operation. Nick had sent the cryptic message about the seat placement only to save himself, because Samba had already reached him first. Now, Donnie is no longer being hunted. He's the one doing the hunting,